Assalamu alaikum. Today topic is how to keep motivated to learning code. It's hard to stay motivated and to continue learning in today's world of constant change in technology, languages and frameworks. We may feel overwhelmed by the sheer amount of options and how far the rabbit hole goes down each one. So I wanted to share some of things I do stay motivated to keep learning to code and how I continue to enjoy it day after day, year after year. Here is my TLDR for those who wants to view this at a glance, but if you want to know more, keep reading. Number 1. Start by setting aside only 5 minutes to learn. Break down any learning into smaller, achievable parts. Just pick one thing to learn and get started on it immediately. Enjoy the process of learning itself as part of the journey. Keep to a routine with scheduled time set aside to learn constantly. Avoid mindlessness of social media, etc. when learning. Do it again. Continue to learn. It's not something you can fail at, only something you might temporarily put on your test. First, talk about 5 minutes of learning. It does not seem like much, it is not much, but it's more than not doing anything at all. It's easy to get overwhelmed when contemplating setting aside hours of your time to learn something you might not understand. The engagement for learning to code something misses that level of entertainment you might get when playing a sports or game. But that's because that level of fun happens only once we get into the thick of things. Setting aside 5 minutes each day or week is enough to get you started, and starting in the hardest part. Once you start coding, the rest will come more naturally. Break down large learning into smaller parts. Most things can be broken down into simpler and simpler parts that are easier to understand at each level. Learning to code is no different. Learning JavaScript, for example, might seem like a huge task. There are so many nuances to it. Yet, every part of JavaScript, down to how it handles an array, a group of atoms, to the way you can call method, a way to do something, can be broken down layer by layer. The final result is that you might just start it by learning how to remove a single entry from the group. If you continue learning bit by bit, you will eventually learn how all the methods and functions work until you can use this one JavaScript without having to Google it every time. Pick one thing to learn and start learning it immediately. You probably already know what you want to learn. You might have had it in the back of your mind for a while, whether it is HTML, CSS, React, or even just plain old JavaScript. It's great to want to start learning something. If you don't know yet what you want, Free Code Camp has you covered with heaps of topics, so you can just pick one or start at the top. But if you already have a topic, don't just think about it. It's all great to read the latest articles, look at the documentation over and over, see the news, what's happening in that language. But to really get started, you need to just start. Enjoy the process of learning itself as a part of the journey. When you go for a run, eat some food, or go to watch a movie, even you don't think of it in terms of I want to complete eating this dinner or I successfully watched that movie. Rather, you enjoy the process of what you do. Often we forget about this in learning. We focus so hard on understanding the language that we forget about enjoy the learning process. The best sort of learning is done when you enjoy what you are doing. Your brain will pick it up easier and remember it longer. That's why so many people who do well are the ones already invested and happy to learn something new. Keep to a routine with a scheduled time set aside to learn constantly. It's easy to put learning last thing of the day to do, last things of the week to do. You are essentially setting it as the last object with little importance. You will not have energy by the time you get to it, and you might altogether let it lapse. Instead, schedule it in first thing you might do when you wake up, or the first part of your day that you complete before going to work. You will be setting an agenda for it that is easier to keep. And last but not least, avoid the mindlessness of social media, etc. when learning. It's easy to forget yourself or lose concentration when you have 100 little distractions. Learning requires mental focus, and staying motivated to learn means that you should put only one focus in front of you. With social media notifications popping up in the background, YouTube playing on the side in a picture, and a dozen other distractions, you might feel like you are never able to learn. These are some of things I do personally to stay motivated to keep learning to code. I think they have helped me a lot in getting to where I am, which is a full stack developer who enjoys doing both front end development and some back end work as well.